I want to actually see when you do this to yourself, what happens. And you would have witnessed this in not just your own life, but even the lives of people all around you. Namaste everyone, how's it going? Today I'm going to speak about something which a lot of people might not have realized in this year. And that could be because we love to complain. And we've been bitching about how this year has messed us up, or our lifestyles, or my health and fitness routine, or my business, etc. due to coronavirus. And while that is true, if you're looking at it from the outside, there's actually just one single observation that a lot of people are probably missing out on when it comes to this whole pandemic, as I like to call it. I'm not going to go into the macro of this particular topic, and I'm not going to talk about it from that point of view, because it's difficult to have free speech nowadays, number one, and number two, it doesn't really matter. With time, hopefully the truth about everything will come out, in terms of this virus at a macro level and how it has impacted the economies and everything. But we're going to look at the micro. And when I talk about the micro, I'm referring to the individual. And when I'm referring to the individual, there is one thing that has happened in the lives of the majority of individuals that exist on this planet that otherwise might not have ever happened had the coronavirus not existed. And what I'm talking about, which I'll just come to in a minute, is that for most people, life happens to them instead of them happening to life. Because most people fail to realize that this is an open playground, and the amount of stamina that you have is basically the time that you have on this planet. So what are you going to do with that stamina, and what are you going to do in that playground is something which either you, by being a free man, could decide by yourself and live accordingly, or let life happen to you, let the environment happen to you, let the factors affect you, let all the other organisms in your ecosystem affect you, and thus live life according to them, which is conformity, or the traditional pattern of life which might be set, such as your school, college, job, wife, marriage, kids, etc. The one blessing which Corona has brought about for all these people who might not have realized that up until now life is happening to them is that it gave them something which people normally run away from. And that is solitude. Because when a man is in solitude, it is for the first time that all the noise and distractions around him quiet down. And once they quieten down, he's able to hear his own mind. And what does the mind say? It says all those things which the individual is probably running away from. And it might not tell you the root cause. It might just show you symptoms or talk in a language which is negative and critical, but it is not going to tell you about what is wrong, but it is going to give you symbols and signs and hints of what it is that you as an individual could do better in your life. So Corona gave everyone this solitude, where for the first time in their life, I think a lot of people in this world sat down to spend time alone with themselves, which is something that they should be doing anyway, because only when you can have real talk with yourself can you come to know more about yourself. But we run away from that because we love to keep ourselves occupied and distracted. The moment a person has nothing to do, the number one thing they do is flip out the phone, because boom, full of fucking distractions, right? Full of distractions, full of stimulation, instant gratification, and boom. But this way of living life is never going to take them to where they could go when they are on this playground and they're playing this game called life. Because it is robbing them of the number one thing which they need to do. And in Hindi, I had a client call with an Indian client of mine, and where I was trying to tell him how to learn to talk with his own spirit, or his own soul, or the Atma, as we call it. So when the noise around you disappears, that is when you can start hearing the Atma. And that is only going to happen once you learn to see through the language of the mind, because the mind is another distractor. The mind and the soul are different. So the mind is going to chatter, because of which a lot of people have landed up in depression during this time. Psychiatric doctors are witnessing a major rise in mental health illnesses in terms of people suffering from them. And that is majorly due to the forced isolation, as I like to call it. And it had an impact on people, on people's money, on economies, etc. And ultimately that was the intention behind it. But when people suffered, and for the first time they came face to face with the reflection of their own soul, even though there was the mist of the mind in between, they could not take it. And hence, the injury appears in the form of these illnesses or other such problems, such as relationships breaking apart because the husband and wife didn't know what to do and how to live and how to be silent and comfortable with each other, etc., etc., etc. I can go on with the examples, but that's not what I care about right now. What I care about is for people to understand, yeah, I mean, Corona's a bitch and we all hate it and blah, blah, blah. Ignoring that, a lot of people have never had this solitude and self-talk that happens in a period of solitude, because a lot of people in life, whether you call it the rat race or, you know, the trodden path, a lot of people don't ever force themselves onto journeys where if they undergo that journey, they're going to be alone. So they're going to be traveling in solitude. And that is an even tougher experience than just sitting still in solitude. Just sitting still is mostly about mastery over the mind, where you can learn how to ignore the critical and overthinking voice in your mind and just be calm with just nothing to do. No phone, no anything. Just try this 3 hours a day. One of the days this week, whenever you watch this video, any 1 week, 3 hours. Sit the fuck down without Netflix, without Instagram, without calling up somebody, without reading something, nothing. Just sit and hear deeper and deeper. Try to, like, when I record the video, right, I shut down all the doors and everything, because sometimes there's construction happening, etc. And I don't want that noise, because, you know, oh my God, I'm a YouTuber and I care about audio. But keeping all that aside, when you try to sit down in silence, I want to hear what you guys go through or what revelations come through in your mind. So please do come back and try to drop comments down in this under this video, because I want to actually see, when you do this to yourself, what happens. Because right now it was done to you. It was forced onto you. And that also, like, with some people, it's going to break them down, and with some people, it's going to make them stronger. 2020 is that kind of a year. And you would have witnessed this in not just your own life, but even the lives of people all around you. So this solitude that was given to you because of Corona was a gift. because most people do not undertake journeys which they are going to be alone in, because people are not going to stand by them. And which is, for example, the journey of exile or vanvas that we talk about, such as in the original King, Warrior, Magician, Lover video, when I shared with you guys that why did I take the steps which I took in my life at the age of 21. And when I went through that entire journey, which I started back then, I was alone for most of the time. Yes, I had parental support, friends, etc. But the one who is living the experience is alone in that fucking solitude and feeling that fucking pain. But with anything in life, if it is worth having, you got to pay a price for it. And that's when the pain converts into pleasure. I think I made my point, which was no point. It was just me trying to share my perspective on how I think this is a very, very big blessing for the majority of human beings on this planet. Because it could be the first call to self-awakening. It could be the first call towards self-realization that they might have ever gone through. And it might be the most important turning point of their life. That's why I said some broke down, some have risen up. Even me, observing my environment, I have seen this. And the ones who have risen up maybe did what I spoke about in terms of what we need to do to feel the silence to the level where it becomes so painful that you realize it's actually trying to tell you something. And then when you finally hear it, you can rise above the present version of who you are. Done.